Welcome to Real Estate with Corinne. I'm Corinne Kern. I'm a broker with Bighorn Real Estate in Billings, Montana. In today's video, I want to go over a state required form called the Buyer Broker Agreement. Now, there are two versions of this form, and I think it's important for any buyer before they enter into this agreement to understand the details of this agreement and know their options. So I'm going to go over that today, some questions to ask, and let's get into it. So the first version of the form that I'm going to go over is what's called the short form version of the Buyer Broker Agreement. Now, I anticipate that this is probably the most commonly used version by most realtors. And the reason for that is when a home is listed for sale with a realtor, the listing agent and the seller come to an agreement on the commission that is paid. And then they also come to an agreement on how much of that commission is paid out to a buyer's agent. It's called a cooperation agreement, and it's the whole premise for why we have a multiple listing service and a cooperation agreement between agents. So most often, this short form version is going to be used by a realtor and given to their buyer when only searching for properties that are listed for sale in the multiple listing service. So it indicates in this agreement that a buyer is not obligated to compensate their realtor because their realtor will be compensated through the cooperation agreement on the listing side. And so anyway, that is why this one is the most commonly used form. So while the short form agreement does not obligate a buyer to compensate the agent that's representing them, it does indicate in the agreement whether it is an exclusive or non-exclusive agreement. So by marking the exclusive box, and I would assume that most realtors are going to require this agreement to be exclusive, it means that you as the buyer are obligated to work with that agent for the duration of the agreement. Now, this buyer broker agreement will have an expiration date on it, which means that until that expires or unless a agent is willing to let you out of this agreement, if you purchase a home, you are obligated to purchase it with the use of this realtor. Now, by using a non-exclusive option in this agreement, that means that you could use this agent or you could move on to any other agent without any sort of obligation to the one that you've signed this agreement with. So my advice to any buyer before they sign this type of agreement is to get to know the agent, to ask them questions, in essence, interview them, get some time spent with them, and see exactly how they can be of help to you. Now, even if they're a great realtor, maybe they're just not the right fit. And so you really want to make sure that before you're obligated to move forward with that specific agent, that you vetted them out, that you are sure that that's who you want to represent you when you're purchasing a property. So the standard version of the buyer broker agreement is different in the sense that it actually indicates that the buyer will compensate the agent. Now, there's a few different versions of compensation in here, anywhere from a retainer fee to an hourly rate to an actual commission percentage. And this is often used when a buyer has kind of a unique situation. Either they are looking specifically for a home that is a for sale by owner, where the seller is not willing to cooperate and compensate the agent, or maybe they're looking for an off-market property. So this is really going to be used in those more unique situations. Sometimes you will see both versions of these forms coupled together, where if a property is found where it's listed for sale with another realtor and there's a cooperation agreement on compensation, then that is the way that the buyer's agent gets compensated. And if not, then this version takes place and the buyer agrees to compensate their agent for any compensation that's not coming from the seller's side. Now, in these forms, there are also some additional disclosures that talk about what a buyer's agent does and does not do. Now, one of the things that is pointed out in this, as well as a couple other forms, is that a buyer's agent is not going to perform any professional inspections on the property. Now, if we gain any sort of information that we think is an adverse material fact, we are required to disclose that to you as a buyer, but we don't go in and do any sort of professional inspections ourselves. That we do have limited knowledge on those types of things. So it does go into that. It talks a little bit about wire fraud. There's just some important things that are highlighted on this form as well as within other disclosures and the buy-sell agreement. But all in all, these forms are here to, one, make sure that you know what your commitment is when you're working with a realtor. It's important to read through these forms and ask the questions that you think are pertinent before you commit to working with a real estate agent. And it's also there to protect the agent, to make sure that the work that they're doing for their clients, that they get compensated for that appropriately. So if you have any questions, you can always leave a comment below. I've also included all of my contact information in the description box. If you're new here, I do upload new videos every Tuesday talking about real estate, the market here in Billings, Montana. And I'm always happy to answer any questions. I'm really excited. I am going to be rolling out next week a new series in addition to my Tuesday videos. And I am going to be talking about building. I'll be taking you through the entire process with a local builder here in Billings, Montana, from the process of buying just raw land all the way through the finish of a build. So very excited to get that going and collaborate on that, and hope you guys will watch. We'll see you next Tuesday.